Explore the vibrant arts and culture landscape of Michigan, a state with a thriving creative ecosystem that has birthed iconic movements like Motown and the Purple Rose Theater. Home to legendary musicians, writers, and artists, Michigan boasts a rich tapestry of cultural heritage known worldwide. Michigan Creates is a podcast series that will connect listeners with gifted artists and cultural institutions that are nurturing Michigan's vibrant creative landscape. Welcome, I'm Ara Tapuzian, host of Michigan Creates, the podcast series that showcase artists and art organizations that are shaping the great state of Michigan. Joining me on today's program is Dwayne Hayes. He's the visionary behind KickstART Farmington. Dwayne has been instrumental in revitalizing the local community through creative initiatives and grassroots projects. From supporting small businesses to fostering a vibrant art scene, KickstART Farmington is a beacon of innovation and community spirit. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by Dwayne's journey and the incredible work being done to transform the city of Farmington. Let's dive in. Dwayne, I appreciate you being on Michigan Creates today. I'm looking forward to talking to you and learn more about your organization. So thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Happy to be here.
So before we talk about KickstART Farmington, I do want to talk about your background first.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a little bit about your background. You've got a writing background, correct?
Well, I have a publishing background.
Okay.
And before that, my background was actually in the social sciences. I have a master's degree in social work and did that for a number of years, but always was writing and interested in publishing during that time, and then left social work, got a job in publishing, and began to publish my own literary magazine called Absinthe, and that journey really led into what became KickstART.
So talk about Absinthe. What was that journal like? What types of things were you writing? And then talk about the progression of maybe turning that into KickstART.
Sure. Yeah. So Absinthe really started with an interest in European cinema. And from European cinema, the films of Ingmar Bergman and Francois Truffaut and others, I began to explore, European writing and who are the current big writers in Europe, and who is the next Dostoevsky and Proust, and wanting to explore that. And so through contacts that I made with many different writers and translators around the country and Europe, developed this literary magazine that was published twice a year called Absinthe. And Absinthe developed in a way beyond literature. We began to do events where we would show films by European filmmakers. We put together a festival in collaboration with Oakland University, where we brought in writers and translators to read, and we showed a program of European cinema. And we featured artwork by European artists, both on the covers and then within the pages. And during that time, I did that for 10 years. And during that time, my wife and I really got settled in the Farmington Hills community and began to realize we had no intention to leave. This is going to be our home. And so for me, I became really fascinated. I'm sure it had a lot to do with my social work background, with the role of arts in community and what we can do to build up the community through the arts. And so Absinthe ended up being transitioned away to the University of Michigan, where it's still being published. And Absinthe as an organization became the nonprofit KickstART Farmington.
So was Absinthe
about 10 years ago?
Okay, so was Absinthe a private? It wasn't a nonprofit.
It was a nonprofit. Yeah, it was started as a
Okay.
nonprofit publishing company. Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward, and that's how you and I met. Was through our connections in the same city of Farmington Hills, and family and whatnot. And so you're located in the city of Farmington, and you started KickstART. So talk to us about what is KickstART Farmington and what's the mission of the organization?
Well, KickstART Farmington really grew out of a mission to build a healthy and vibrant art scene
Mhm.
in the community, and to understand and support how the arts help us understand what it is to be human, how to be a better neighbor, and how to be a better global citizen. And so we began to look at what are some of the assets we have in the community, whether that's um, places, whether that's individuals, and how do we highlight that and promote that? So one of the things that we identified early on was the beautiful Farmington Civic Theater that we have in downtown Farmington,
Right.
designed by C. Howard Crane, who designed the Fox Theater in Detroit. And we, at the time, the Civic Theater was used primarily as a second run theater. So you would see the Avengers several months after it had been released. And we thought, what are some interesting ways that we can collaborate with the theater and bring in some interesting and unique film programming, and attract people from outside the community as well. So 10 years ago, we developed the Greater Farmington Film Festival, which is um, really hones in on what our mission is, which is building community. And so the film festival focuses on films that deal with contemporary issues. Might be poverty, might be immigration, might be environmental issues. And those films, it's a mix of documentary films, narrative features, and they all hopefully inspire audiences to want to give back and be part of the solution.
And I do remember that film festival committee. I was on that. Geez, I
Yeah,
thought it was longer than 10 years, but I mean, it started a
it
little
feels
bit
like it, doesn't
differently.
it?
It definitely started a little bit differently than what it's turned into, which is very cool. So you were able to really use your passion for film, your
Mhm.
enjoyment of film to really translate that into sort of continuing on with the film festival. What other types of programming are you doing with KickStart?
Well, KickSTART was always intended to be multidisciplinary,
Okay.
and was always intended to highlight literature,
Hmm.
film, theater, dance, music. So we love to collaborate. We love to find the organizations in our community, collaborate with those groups. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, we started the KickSTART Gallery right in downtown Farmington. And there we exhibit work by area artists. We've collaborated with the Farmington Art Foundation. Their members have displayed and exhibited work there. We've partnered with the Farmington Public Schools to showcase student artworks, which is really fun. And our new gallery space is getting ready to open up soon, so we're excited about
Yeah.
that.
Let's
And
let's talk about that, Dwayne, because I remember the former area,
yeah,
and now you're building something a bit bigger, I believe.
well, we're not building, we're renovating,
Renovating.
but and strangely enough, the square footage is pretty much the same. It's
Okay.
configured very differently. It's going to allow us to do some things um, that we'd always wanted to do. We figure we can end up with about 25 to 30 seats in our space to do some film programming, to do some music. Um, we have a dream about doing some short 10-minute plays, some different things along those lines in the space, but it will be used primarily for exhibitions. And then there will be the shop area, which also will feature a wide variety of artistic works in various mediums by artists from around the region.
That's very exciting. And you're not just serving Farmington. You're kind of that area is like Farmington, Farmington Hills, Novi. These are all, for those that are listening and watching, southeastern Michigan, kind of the suburbs of Detroit. So you're really drawing from a lot of different cities to participate and come to your events and whatnot. Is that correct?
Absolutely. That was
Yeah,
one reason too why we named the film festival the Greater Farmington Film Festival. It has that
right.
double meaning of making the community greater too, but serving the wider community. And we get people from Ann Arbor, Detroit, all over to come to the film festival. And last year we started a new festival in collaboration with the Farmington Community Library,
Hmm.
and that is a book and author festival. Actually, it's the Farmington Author and Book Festival. I should say it correctly, affectionately known as Fab Fest, and that takes place the weekend of Art on the Grand, right in downtown Farmington.
Great.
So last year was our first year. It takes place June 1st this year with, like I said, in partnership with the library, and it's going to be a great event.
Yeah, you've definitely integrated the organization within the community. It's nice to see that there's a lot of different partnerships that really go on. Dwayne, you talked about a little bit earlier of sort of the impact. I want to delve a little bit deeper into that. Um, Talk to me about how art impacts a community, especially Farmington.
Well, we believe strongly that art is integral to understanding who we are, what our purpose is in life. Every worldview really stems out of some engagement with the arts. Um, if that's a worldview that originated from a religious practice, for example, um, that is all stories. It's
Right.
it's short stories. It's poetry. All of these traditions. It might be a particular uh, house of worship that has specific architecture. There might be particular um, forms of artwork involved, whether that's sculptures or iconography or some other form. And of course, music plays a huge part in that. And what do we do at birthdays? We sing. What do we always incorporate the arts in everything that we do, and yet we tend to kind of dismiss it as unimportant and not a significant um, part of our lives when it's critical to everything that we do. It's critical to our understanding of ourselves. It's critical to our understanding of how do I relate to my neighbor? How do I relate to the earth? How do I relate to the other creatures and my responsibility to them? And so everything that we can do to promote that helps us, I think, become more fully human and therefore more fully compassionate about our other humans next to us and the other creatures that I pass in the street or in my backyard.
It
So
it
that's
definitely
part of it.
touches all facets of life, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah, it
And
really.
just about every child um, draws, scribbles, colors. You know,
Yeah.
art is there from the very beginning. Sings.
So let's talk about the real fun part of the job, fundraising. I'm
Yeah,
just kidding, right? That's never that's never the best part, right? But
conversation
most
over. Right? Yeah,
it's most needed, right?
yeah,
As a
exactly. Yeah.
501c3.
Yeah.
And certainly pandemic, played a role in a
Mhm.
lot
Mhm.
of what went on, I think, around the country regarding organizations and their fundraising efforts. And I've talked to a number of them that have said, yes, it had a great negative effect. Some said it didn't. We pushed forward. How did the pandemic affect your fundraising efforts?
Well, the pandemic, it's very strange. We opened our first space in November of 2019.
Hmm.
And when we opened, um, you know, we didn't have a lot of money in the bank. Our board was courageous and said, let's do this anyway. Let's take this leap of faith. And unbeknownst to us, 4 months later, we're canceling the film festival or postponing it. We're shutting down the gallery. And obviously, if we had known that was coming, we would never have opened in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, And yet it turned out to be a great thing. We survived it. We received a lot of support from the community, and we managed to make it through that time even stronger than we were before. It's for us, it's always been an interesting situation to try to figure out how do we move from being a very small nonprofit to a small nonprofit to a medium-sized nonprofit and get to where we want to go. We have huge, big dreams and goals.
Well, I would hope so.
That requires funding, and so we're always looking at ways to make an impact, to let people know exactly what we're doing, because we do believe that when people see what we do and understand the impact, that they'll be excited and want to be part of what we do.
So to that point, Dwayne, if folks want to donate and check more information out on KickstART Farmington, why don't you give the web address?
Yeah, it's kickstartfarmington.org, KickstART Farmington, all one word. And if you Google KickstART Farmington, we'll come right up. So you'll find us pretty easily.
Yeah, that's terrific. Dwayne, thanks for talking to me today. Hopefully this will give folks a better understanding, certainly the organization that you've had the passion for over 10 years in putting together. And I've watched a bit on the side, and I give you a lot of credit. It's certainly not an easy task to develop and maintain a nonprofit, but you certainly have the passion to do that. So I wish KickstART Farmington all the best of luck. So thanks for being on the program today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was an honor. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Michigan Creates. We hope you've had fun diving into the creativity of our state. From Motown melodies to artisanal wonders, Michigan never fails to dazzle. But hey, the creativity doesn't stop here. Connect with us online, subscribe to our channel so you don't miss new episodes. Help us spread the word and also share your own artistic stories. So until next time, I'm Ara Tapuzian, and I want you to keep those musical instruments in tune, keep those paintbrushes moving, and keep those cameras rolling. Remember, in Michigan, the only limit is your imagination. Stay creative.